Welcome to the BEASTwriter family where social media engagement is encouraged. I'm your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to continue within the NFC East as I continue to break down all 32 NFL draft grades, and this time talk about the Washington football team. Now, if you watched my earlier podcast just earlier today on my premiere video, if you haven't watched it, you can go ahead and play catch up, but I already broke down the Dallas Cowboys. Yesterday, I broke down the Philadelphia Eagles. We're continuing on today with this Washington football team and my draft grade for them. Now, before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. Just be sure, guys, to turn on and flip on the bell notifications so you guys get notified when I go live or when I upload content. Also, please be aware that I also post up in between podcasts or in between content videos. I also post up on my community page things that are happening in between. So we're not missing a beat here in any way, shape, or form just because I'm not posting a YouTube video. So check out the community page. Make sure you stay up to date on that so you guys know what's going on before it happens. I'll even post up some giveaways, maybe some surprise giveaways, just to kind of get the interaction and the fun going on all cylinders here on YouTube. All right. So before we go ahead and do that, I just want to say thank you again for everyone that subscribed, man. It's been nothing but good things here in the BEASTwriter family. Good vibes only. But all right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the Washington football team and some of the picks that were made and my final grade for that team. All right, let's go ahead and break it down and pull up the ticker and we'll get started. Their first round pick, number 19 overall, heading into the draft, they had needs at quarterback. Obviously, they could use a running back, a change of pace running back. They also needed help along the offensive tackle position. They needed offensive line help. They have Brandon Scherf, but they needed line help there as well. And most importantly, probably the inside linebacker position at the second level backer. So when you take that all into account and you're sitting there at 19, they're going to be in a good position to let the board talk to them. And that's exactly what Riverboat Ron did. Sitting there at number 19, I would have rather them selected Najee Harris. Maybe that's because that's my draft crush and I'm a Roll Tide Roll fan. But Najee Harris to me would have been a nice upgrade over Antonio Gibson. Now, Antonio Gibson is no slouch of his own. I mean, here's a guy who came in as a rookie last year and just wowed. And he had little to nothing working with when it comes to the offensive line. Obviously, you had Brandon Scherf there and you had Moses there as well. But aside from that, they really didn't have much up front. I'm just going to put it out there. They didn't have much up front. And he still was able to put up 1,000 scrimmage yards at the running back position, which becomes in Washington history. I don't want to say the R word, the former mascot team name, but so it's hard for me to say this podcast, but the Washington football team, I gotta get used to saying it. So the Washington football, how do I say this? The Washington football team, Antonio Gibson was the first Washington football team running back to hit 1,000 scrimmage yards since Alfred Morris did it back in 2012. There you go. I got it. And that's why I think Riverboat Ron is so high on Antonio Gibson. But at the same time, I would have really liked them to take Najee Harris. He would have been the perfect complement to what Chase Young is on the defense side of the football. You have your beast on D and Chase Young. You have your beast on O and Najee Harris. So again, I like how that dynamic would have worked. You chewed up clock time, keep the defense fresh off the field, keep the opposing offenses off the field as well, and then you just chew up clock time, winning time of possession. Ultimately, they didn't go that route. They didn't want that change of pace back. They said that Antonio Gibson, let's give him another chance to see if he can actually break 1,000 yards without receiving just 1,000 straight up. He could probably do it. We're going to give him that opportunity. Go ahead and do it. And that's why they opted for Jamin Davis, the middle linebacker out of Kentucky, who was rising up draft boards. Just like Kelvin Joseph had a nice pro day, so did Jamin Davis. I mean, he was skyrocketing off draft boards when he had his pro day. And again, this was a need-based pick, but one where horizontal board, when you're looking at the horizontal board, it makes perfect sense because when you look at the horizontal board and what realistically is out there, it's not much, especially at the linebacker position. Yeah, you have Nick Bolton, but he goes in the second round to the Kansas City Chiefs, which is a nice value pick in the second round, but not so much in the first. So Washington has little to no depth at linebacker. I can see why the pick was made in Jamin Davis over a guy like a luxury pick in Najee Harris. So if I was to put a letter grade on this, I would have to give him a letter grade of a B. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about Samuel Cosmi in the second round, number 51. I love this pick. Samuel Cosmi to me, just make sure the ticker's up. Yeah, Samuel Cosmi to me was one of the most underrated offensive tackles in this entire draft class. No one really talked about Samuel Cosmi. I don't know why. I think the guy's a stud. I've been watching him a better half of the last 2 years coming out of Texas, and the guy is just cerebrally smart, right? He's one of the most underrated players drafted in the second round. He creates a perfect storm where need meets best player available. He's smart, he's savvy, he's technically sound and coachable. So when you put that all together, those are Riverboat Ron traits, right? And when you look at the blindside left tackle position, well, there's a gaping hole there. Samuel Cosmi is a perfect complement and can slide into that role and be the potential 10-year player that Riverboat Ron was looking for since becoming the Washington football team's head coach. So if I was to put a letter grade on this, I really like this pick. I think they hit it out of the ballpark. I'm going to have to give them a letter grade of an A. All right, now let's move on. We have cornerback Benjamin St-Juste, who they drafted in the third round, at number 74. This was a luxury pick in my estimation because they didn't really need to go cornerback. I would have rather them take a running back, an offensive lineman, or another linebacker for that matter. If you look at what's out there, why not go after a guy like running back Michael Carter or running back Trey Sermon? They would have been nice value. Or if not them, why not go after a guy like offensive guard Quinn Miners? All three of those players would fill a need while going best player available. I thought those three players would have been better fits than the guy like Benjamin St-Juste. So if I was to put a draft grade on this selection with cornerback Benjamin St-Juste in the third round at number 74, I would have to give him a letter grade of a D because I like Quinn Miners. Why not go after Quinn Miners? Solidify the offensive line. If not, why get your change of pace back in Michael Carter? Michael Carter with nice value here. So there's that. Or Trey Sermon. All right, now let's go ahead and move on. We got third round pick number 82, wide receiver Dyami Brown. And again, this was another questionable pick. Again, wide receiver was a head-scratching pick because I know you need a trio of wide receivers. I get it in the pass-happy today NFL, but you just went out and signed Curtis Samuel from the Carolina Panthers. You already have Terry McLaurin there. Why not go after get a guy like Michael Carter at number 82? Would have been a steal. I would have liked this pick here. However, it turns out that they're extremely high on last year's third-round pick, Antonio Gibson, which is why they didn't draft a running back in the first, second, and third rounds. So with that being said, again, they're sitting there at number 82. Why not go after a guy like freaking Quinn Miners, man? Why not go after Quinn Miners? Again, when you look at the financial, if you're doing your homework and if you're a GM, you're looking at this and saying, okay, if I'm Martin Mayhew, I'm looking at this and saying, Eric Flowers has zero dead money tied to his contract in 2022. And that makes 2022 essentially his last year of his contract, which is 2 years from now. Why not get a player to be an insurance policy for him? And with Quinn Miners having a great Senior Bowl season, I guess you would say, or workout or weekend, why not go after and get a guy like him who then falls to the Denver Broncos just 20 picks later, right? Or whatever the case may be. He was drafted in the tail end of the third round. So with that being said, why not get a guy like Quinn Miners who can be a plug and play once Eric Flowers ships out? Because I don't think Eric Flowers is going to be on the team much longer, especially after next year. Just putting it out there, right? And again, I get that there are higher rated player. I get the pick of going after a guy like Dyami Brown, but there were higher rated players on the board, essentially Quinn Miners. He would have been a solid play. I do like Dyami Brown out of North Carolina. So if they didn't go Michael Carter, his teammate, I get Dyami Brown. So if I have to put a letter grade on this, because they do now have their trio of wide receivers for the foreseeable future, I would have to give them a letter grade of a B. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the remaining draft picks. They go ahead and use a shotgun approach, as I talked about in all my live streams and on all my NFL draft grades, how teams that I was hearing in the 4th to 7th rounds would be using the shotgun approach because this draft class isn't very strong, right? It's weak sauce. So when you take that into account, you have more darts on the board at certain positions. Odds are you're going to hit if you have more darts, right? More ammo to play with. So this is the remaining draft picks. They used a shotgun approach. They took tight end John Bates in the 4th round, number 124. They took the safety Derek Forrest in the 5th round, number 163. Long snapper Cameron Cheeseman, and I like that name, in the 6th round, number 225. Outside linebacker William Bradley King in the 7th round, number 240. Defensive end Shaka Toney out of Penn State in the 7th round, number 246. And wide receiver Dax Milne in the 7th round, number 258. All right, so if I was to put a letter grade on this altogether, I like the picks of Jamin Davis. I like the pick of Samuel Cosmi. Love that pick. Benjamin St-Juste, Dyami Brown, I get it. But again, you miss out on Michael Carter twice in the 3rd round. How can you do that? And Quinn Miners, you missed out on both those guys. I'm going to have to question those picks. The remaining draft picks is whatever, blah, blah, blah. If I was to put a letter grade overall, I'm going to have to give the Washington football team and Martin Mayhew and Riverboat Ron a grade of a B. So again, you saw what the Philadelphia Eagles got in my grading system. They got a B. I just wrapped up just a little bit earlier on the Dallas Cowboys grade, and they got a B. So the NFC East is looking like a solid B altogether. Now we have one remaining team left, obviously, in the New York Giants. We're going to have to see how that one plays out. But so far, out of the three NFC East teams that I graded, they all received a letter grade of a B. All right. Well, that's it for this podcast. If you like my analysis and insights, please be sure to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. BEASTwriter family, what are your thoughts? I love engaging with you on this platform. Please leave your comments. And again, welcome to the BEASTwriter family. I'll be hopping on another premiere video later on this evening as we wrap up the NFC East and talk about the New York Football Giants. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. BEASTwriter out.